Hello, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Great. I think it's just you and I today.
Yes, it seems like it.
However, I am Giulio Prisco and you are.
I'm Stellar Magnet.
And this, I believe, is the very first episode of the Black Sky podcast, with which we are going to annoy you guys a lot in the next few months and years, maybe decades. So in
Yes.
this pilot episode, we just want to brainstorm on features and everything about future episodes. So you guys know what to expect. So first, what do you have in mind for this podcast?
What do I have in mind? Well, what was your vision for starting this Black Sky Media Network? Because I wanted to discuss a little bit about, what are the range of the topics that we're talking about? Is it very specific, or is it everything possible in the Black Sky universe?
Well, in principle, I don't like limits.
Yeah.
So if that is the question, then I can only answer everything is allowed.
Okay.
So
That's
in
that's good. Good to know.
one of the next few episodes, perhaps we can discuss football, since, well, football in our European sense, not in yours. You call it soccer. But you don't. But you guys don't really know what you're talking about. Since in one of the next few weeks, it may happen that the soccer team, football team of my hometown wins the Italian Football League. Then we might even have an episode about that.
Oh, really?
But well, in theory, in principle, in practice, no, because there are so many good media dedicated to football, and some of them are good. I don't really see the need to add another one.
Yes.
In general, I think in media, you should start something if there is a niche that you want to fill. And if you feel that there are a community of people interested in something that are not being served fully by existing media, so that, we are interested in many things.
Yeah.
In the overlap of the things that you, I, and the other people who participated in the discussion groups of the Black Sky Society now. There is a lot of overlap, of course, but one common thing is interest in what we have been calling weird things. I mean, not very usual, and that can mean anything from highly imaginative science and philosophy to paranormal thing, mind over body and consciousness in the universe. Perhaps if I let you have your way, also UAPs, influences from otherworldly aliens that may be from outer space or from other dimension or whatever. All this kind of stuff, it is actually discussed a lot. There is a lot of media focused on the weird, but perhaps not on what we have been calling high quality weirdness. And I think that should be the keyword. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I like weird. I like to discuss all these things. At the same time, having done some readings, having studied a couple of things, having been exposed to good writers and good philosophers, I find it difficult at times to relate to things that in principle I would find interesting, but not presented in a way that I can consider high quality. So this should be the focus, I believe. High quality weirdness, which is to discuss whatever really weird things that comes to our mind, but trying to keep a high quality standard with an intellectual bar below which we don't want to go. I have been doing that for years, mostly for things having to do with traditional, between brackets, science and philosophy. But your interests are wider than mine, in the sense that you're interested in all things that I'm interested in, and also in other things that I haven't really taken seriously so far. But, well, perhaps you can persuade me to take everything that is on your mind seriously. Just let's see.
Like you don't believe that there are some crashed spacecrafts on Earth, for example. Do you believe that?
Let me say that I don't disbelieve it. In the sense it's entirely compatible with my worldview. And as a matter of fact, I do hope this is the case. I would like to open the TV, watch the headlines and see, you know, the alien crash that landed in Roswell in 1947 has been revealed to the media, and here it is. I would love that, but I haven't seen so far any evidence that makes me think a lot about it. I'm open to this possibility, but I haven't taken it so very seriously so far. Nice science fiction, if you ask me. But again, I'm open. If you show me evidence, I'm very willing to believe it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like after I read a lot about various things, I feel like it's conclusive that this happened and it has been a cover up, and there have been many other incidences. And you know, once you just fully believe that, it's a very different reality that you're a part of. So there is an aspect of, you know, something that might be blocking yourself from wanting to fully believe it. Maybe like a kind of like a feeling of betrayal or something.
No, no betrayal at all. I don't. As a matter of fact, I do want to fully believe these things. Perhaps, I mean, one limit of all the discussions that I have seen about these things is that much of that is not imaginative enough. And what do I mean? I mean that, you know, the concept of aliens that come here to Earth on a spaceship and land on the Earth, and perhaps they go out, they are a little green man or little pink women, you know, some humanoid or perhaps slightly humanoid, but not too much. This sounds way too pedestrian, not too imaginative to me. I mean, I loved reading these things in science fiction, but you know, I do believe.
But there are multiple layers to it. It doesn't just stop at the spacecraft and these intelligences that, you know, maybe us from the future, perhaps, or these kind of like more more robots of sorts that are printed by other intelligences that aren't in the craft. So I think the narrative is it's a bit deeper than just the craft and the aliens that or and the beings that are on it, because they're usually, you know, people talk about something that's outside of that you still can't, not everyone can fully see or touch. So
Perhaps,
I think it's more like that. It's like there's an ecology. There are some things that are fully formed, but the most of what is happening, it's very it's still in the third eye.
right, you have to explain me what is the third eye later. Well, you don't really have to explain it to me. I have read long time ago a book called Third Eye, written by some Tibetan monk who migrated to the West. However, I do agree with what you say about the nature of UAPs, and I'm even more imaginative than that, in the sense that when I think of really, but really, really underlined, advanced civilizations out there, I imagine something that is so different from us as to be almost unrecognizable from our perspective. I don't even think they need physical spacecraft. And as I must have told you a couple of times, I'm very open to the possibility that one of them is listening to us right now. Perhaps one of them is here at my right or my left,
Yeah, no,
embodied,
there might be 1,000 watching
yeah,
us right now. They
yeah.
might have been waiting for us to finally start this Black Sky podcast,
Oh, sure, there may
and
be,
they're eating popcorn and like, yeah.
sure, sure. They wouldn't be physical popcorn, I'm afraid. I imagine more like
Alien
clouds,
popcorn, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
clouds of intelligent plasma floating around us, communicating in some way to us through, you know, these quantum shenanigans that you keep reading about, all that. I mean, this is one of the topics in which I think the weirder the better, because one thing can be sure about very advanced aliens is that they would be seriously aliens.
It would be seriously aliens, yeah, yeah.
But of course, high quality aliens. So
Yeah.
this is one of the things that we are going to discuss in this podcast. I must have participated in a couple of interviews about these things, but you know, I have never taken any of that too seriously so far.
Yeah, now is going to be the time where you really ask the questions and you try to understand.
So what interesting things about these possible very weird aliens have you been reading or listening to recently?
Um, I listened to the audiobook for Giorgiani's Closer Encounters.
Ah, that's a nice one.
Yeah, I feel like there's some aspect of the way that he sees it all that feels very dark in some ways. Like there's only this faction of whatever Nordics and the gray aliens, and there's this kind of food chain, and we're at the bottom of it, and that is life. And I'm like, is it really? Is there just this? It seems very, you know, but yeah, I guess there's this kind of trickster entity in the mix too that I have some, I think we have some shared, um, I don't know, both trying to understand or work with that more. And I guess that's like the interesting NHI that he's honing in on, which I guess it has more power than
Hold
it's
on,
like. Mhm.
this thing that you use NHI? Non
Non-human
non
intelligence, non-human
non-human intelligence.
intelligence. Yeah, sort of like, I don't know, the gods of the cosmic operating system or something. They don't even have any bodies. They're kind of like the Q in Star Trek. Um, so yeah, I think that is a thing. That is perhaps some of the highest intelligence. It's that one that's very, like, it's very confusing and you can't really see it. And maybe I've had the most experience trying to I've had the most experience in my, you know, disassociating from reality with something that is like that, as opposed to something that feels like a Nordic or a gray alien. It's felt more like this thing that you can't really properly see, but you kind of feel like there's something there. And it's messing with you and it's tricking you and it's confusing you.
Should we make a little experiment, perhaps? Thing is that now assume that what we have been saying is not entirely bullshit. Let's assume, let's pretend that there is something true. You know, all these intelligent alien clouds of plasma listening to this conversation right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pretend it's not all bullshit. I would
Yeah.
like, if possible, if you guys could be so kind, if one of you would join this Zoom call right now, you could come on screen and you could choose any human avatars, perhaps, to represent you, or whatever other avatar of your choice. So if you can be so kind, please show up right now. I don't see
Yes,
any.
please show up.
Please show up. I don't see anyone. But by the way, I'm just thinking that
They don't really like listening to commands or revealing themselves so
right,
easily. They're not like, you could just call upon me and I'm going to show up whenever you call upon me.
right. But
No.
let's not forget this, because I'm thinking that this could be a great thing to do in one of our next episodes. I mean, imagine if by chance someone showed up here immediately after I invited the alien clouds to show up. That would
Yeah,
have been so nice.
because I think maybe once we get this onto the main internet, I don't know if that adds something to them listening or not, but I guess, there might be some here. Maybe they have to get permission from some other people to show
Yeah,
up or
maybe.
something, you know?
Maybe they do have some kind of alien bureaucracy also up there, where you have to ask permission for everything. I really hope this is not the case. However, you know
Like the
that
prime directive, you don't
right,
believe that an advanced civilization would have something like a prime directive?
I really hope no. I really hope that
No?
no. I
Really?
really hope not in the sense of something that is forced upon them. They may have
Mm.
one for people who are willing to follow it. However, I was telling you, you know that Stephen Hawking once organized a party for time travelers.
No.
He also he also publicized that after the fact he wrote, oh, you know, that he threw a party in Cambridge or wherever he was for time travelers with, you know, snacks and drinks and things and all that. He had a meeting hall for them. He threw this party but didn't announce it, and nobody went. So the day after, he announced the party, saying that, you know, yesterday I will hold a party for time travelers, please show up. And, you know, I've been thinking about that a lot. Perhaps someone did show up in a way
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
in an undetectable way. Perhaps one of the waiters who were standing in line was a time traveler.
Hmm.
But, you know, also time travel is one of the other things that interest me a lot.
Yeah.
I'm
We should
totally
we should
open to
we should
that.
definitely interview people about that. But yeah,
There
time
are,
travel.
yeah, there are a few people doing serious scientific work about that,
Hmm.
especially since you know, people who later went on to win the Nobel Prize in Physics. They have considered scientifically the possibility of time travel. And once a scientist gets to that level, he's too big to be cancelled.
Yeah.
But younger people, no. Younger people must be extremely careful to what they say if they want to make a career in academy. And this is one of the things that they are best advised not to touch, even with a long pole, because
I
it
think
would
it's
be
going to
very
be
damaging for
changing.
their career.
I think it has to change. Otherwise, academia is just going to be left behind as far
Oh,
as
yes.
the future goes.
Definitely. Very much so. This is one of my favorite themes, by the way. Perhaps academia will trickle down to the street, and academic science will become street science. I would very much look forward to that, which, by the way, is how science has always worked. Not in the last 2 or 3 centuries,
Yeah, it
but
seems like maybe
science has always been street science.
people were more, yeah, creative and experimental without, yeah, needing to be a part of a full institution.
I think people have always been creative. The problem now, if you ask me, is that academic institutions have become too restrictive of what can be said,
Yeah,
and too
sort of like,
normative about what cannot be said. There are a
mm,
few things that if you are a young scientist in academia and say certain things, is career suicide, and that's
yeah,
very bad.
yeah,
Because if you look at the advancement of science in the past, the really big breakthroughs have originated from things that were very far from the scientific mainstream, and
hmm,
I don't see any reason why it should change now. I think
yeah.
that will always be the case.
These things don't bother me because I think we're going to be creating a new world with new, just funding new things, having different flows of how science is funded outside of the institution. So, I mean, I very much believe in that, and I very much believe more people just need to be brave and get that career suicide, and other people need to just come together and sort out how we fund these kind of braver scientists. So,
But it's not so easy, Mm, take I used to be a scientist in academia and research institutions when I was pretty young, and had a family, and I had a child to take care of. And my number one priority was to put food on the table for them. Everything else was less important than that. So if I thought to say something, if I wanted to say something that I should not say, I wouldn't have said it, because that would have jeopardized my ability to provide food for my family, and that for a young person with children is the most important thing.
yeah. So we're talking about the future, not the past. And I think the direction that things are going is it's going to have to be, companies that do have some sort of commercial financial sustainability allocating some aspect of their profits towards funding these new institutions that could benefit them and other people, not keeping it all like in-house private development, but just open science, open source development that will benefit themselves, the whole industries that they're a part of. So,
I'm
I
very,
can.
I'm very skeptical about that. I mean, I love it, but but I just don't see it happening.
Well, we need to have an adversary in Black Sky Society.
That would be me.
Yeah.
Oh, well, sure, sure. That's a role that I'm happy to play. Like the old Dutch uncle that keeps trying to inject some common sense and cynicism in the discussion. I mean, I love all that you say, but I find it very
I
difficult
know, I
to
know, I know,
suspend
I
this
know.
belief.
I know you're like you've tried this before, it hasn't worked. You've seen other people do it, it hasn't worked, and you're at the stage where you're like, I don't know if I could truly believe in this, but I'm here, and you know.
Yeah, that's more or less it. But seeing it from a more positive point of view. I mean, let me suspend disbelief for a moment in the possibility to create this beautiful new society that you're hinting at. Okay, now I believe you. How? I just don't think any kind of organization, like a research department, a company, a political party, an organized religion, anything. I don't think any organization can lead the process, because as soon as an organization is formed by the immutable principles of human nature, there is a hierarchy, there is a normative prescription, a list of do and don't, us and them, and all that. What would be really good would be, I think, if anyone would have the means to join a project, any project, and really contribute a significant part of his time to it. For that, we would need some kind of universal basic income. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, whoever is listening, I know that you are surprised to hear me say that, because, given this stupid polarization between left wing and right wing, I'm normally considered right wing, but I do support many of the pet ideas of the left, like this one. I mean, that would be a beautiful thing. It will be forced because, the pace of advancement of artificial intelligence, at some point, the choice will only be between, okay, let's give a basic income to everyone, because the alternative is too unpleasant to consider. I think it will be
Hmm.
forced sooner or later. But life in a society with a basic income would be great.
Yeah, people would be more free to, I guess,
Yes.
explore what they want to explore. And I think, there still might be some earning more beyond your basic income too, right? Um,
Yeah, the idea is that you get your basic income anyway, no questions asked.
yeah.
Now, if you are
Yeah.
happy with that money, and you don't really need too much to have a decent living. Now, of course, if you want more, if you want fancy things, then you can work for that the rest of your time, and
Hmm.
you can be taxed on that, and so contribute to the basic income of the others. But for me, giving everyone something that they can live on without paperwork, without bureaucracy, no questions asked, would be a great thing. And it would really unleash a huge reservoir of creativity and brilliant ideas that at this moment are not used, because people have to work for a living. And
Hmm.
again, putting food on the table for one's family must be everyone's priority.
Yeah. I mean, it's really weird because if we did just have, yeah, that basic income today, I feel like we would be going so much further, faster as a world and as a society. But everyone, or, the people in power or whatever, they just kind of like keeping it in this hamster wheel motion where it's just like small bit of progress and everyone's just kind of kind of stuck.
Right. This discussion will take us far. By the way, what role do you see for this kind of political topics in our future episodes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important because of just trying to map out even like black sky society economically. I think thinking about this topic is important because, you know, it has to be accounted for in the model in some sense. So I would say it's a topic I need to know more about. As
Oh, you
far as
mentioned the Black Sky Society,
hmm
which is interesting. It's sort of evident from the context, but Black Sky website and podcast are sort of a loosely coupled media arm of this Black Sky Society, about which I'm about to ask you to say something more. But let me say one thing first. We have discussed these things a lot, of course, and my usual criticism to my good and beloved friend Stella is that she makes things far too complicated, to the point that at some point I don't understand anything. And I tell her to shut up, perhaps using words less nice than what she deserves. So explain what the fuck is Black Sky Society, and please try to keep it so simple that a stupid old man like me can understand at least something.
Oh, I think in the next few years, what's going to happen is there are people that have visions for new societies, and this has already happened over the last few decades or so as well. Different, projects that are, we can call them network states. Network state might be the closest, descriptor sort
So
of
Black
word.
Sky Society is a network state.
Something like that. Doesn't have the aspiration to have full statehood or recognition from the United Nations, but I would say it's similar to what BLAXXKY has proposed as far as sort of a global network of people that are coming
Mm.
together over common mission, common principles, common sort of like technological ideals or technological visions, and then you're crowdfunding those things as a society, potentially of like millions or hundreds of millions of people, and then you're developing land in different parts of the world that sort of become stitched together into this network state, or in the context of BLAXXKY we can call it maybe a network society or just a society, because isn't a society already a network? So it's a
Mhm.
society.
So you are implicitly recommending that book by BLAXXKY, I forgot his second name, called The
Mm,
Network Society, right?
or just reading the summary of it. But it's called a network state. I wouldn't say you have to fully read it to understand everything about what Black Sky is. But since people are already talking about network states a lot, it might be easier just to call it something like that to get a clearer picture of what it is.
Mhm. I see. And what's the relation between this network state framework and these high quality weird things that we are going to discuss in this podcast?
Well, part of what Black Sky Society is interested in is a lot of these weird topics or weird science stuff that's not being funded. So if you create a society where these high quality weird topics, they're somewhat at the forefront or they're at a major component of that society, and we can do some sort of like movement building, get some resources towards advancing on these topics. So we're not just speculating on this and that, and we have, more data, more experiments. So that's the relationship.
And what
So
would be an
yeah,
example of that?
an example of something that would be
An
funded
example
or.
of a research project or any other project that the Black Sky Society would fund if the money were there.
One thing I'm personally very interested in right now is something we were talking about earlier as far as like the UAP uh thing, the UAP question and aliens, extraterrestrials. There's a lot of people that have slightly different theories on what it is or how it works or what the sort of cosmic politics are. And I don't I have to probably go deeper into the research, but I'd like to see more of like a side by side analysis of here's one model, here's another model, here's another model. You start to give the models different names, so then you can talk about them and you can debate them and you can kind of figure out which one seems closer or not.
Closer to
Um,
what?
Closer to the truth.
Isn't it a circular thing if you don't have any pre-existing estimation of what the truth can be?
Well, you would just start to pull in more resources like experiential data. I think that would be a major component of this. So trying to find, there might be different databases that are scattered, different groups that have been gathering this type of research or that type of research. And like, how do we stitch it all together and come closer towards everyone having all of that information somewhat
Mhm.
centralized?
I
So I
think
think
that
since this has been a mostly ignored topic academically, it is a field where there has been a lot of independent research over the past few decades. So it's like one of the perfect examples of what we can kind of start off as an
mm,
initial thing or initial activity that we work towards centralizing, maybe working with other
mm,
organizations that are also interested in that or that want to get towards more coherence on the topic. So it's not just like, yeah, I read this book, I read these 10 books, that guy said that, I believe this, which is most of how it all works today.
this doesn't really sets fireworks in motion in my mind. I'm kind of skeptical of these taxonomy building projects because very often I have the impression that it's all about organizing your knowledge about things of which you know nothing. And that's kind of the impression that I have here. To me, it would be much more interesting. I don't really know because I'm thinking aloud. This is a brainstorming session. Wouldn't it be great to at least try to directly advance and achieve some knowledge about these things? For example, still thinking aloud, you seem to be persuaded that whatever these otherworldly weird entities are, you seem to be persuaded that we can kind of establish communication with them by natural means, mind to mind. You think that is the case?
Yeah, I think that is the case. I think many people have that sort of relationship with this non-human intelligence. So I think like for me personally, I have to go deeper into, I was talking about the third eye earlier, but just expanding my third eye. And I have to go try it and do it for myself in that, like in like a deeper way, not just in a way where, you know, I'm not eating too much food or sleeping too much and I'm thinking about all these topics and then I start to just feel connected to something. It's like that's been my one experience with it. So I want to know, was I just fucking crazy and making a bunch of shit up, or is there something deeper to this? Um, so I'm still, it's like I have these things that I went through, but right now I'm like, I could have maybe I did make it all up. I don't know. I have to go deeper and understand. So for me personally, I need to kind of just do also the individual exploration. In parallel to that, the kind of taxonomy type work, stitching that together. Maybe that's not interesting to you because you're not a person who has gone through these experiences, so you're not actively trying to understand what they are. But for me as a person
I would
who
like to
has
go through these experiences. I just haven't.
yeah, yeah. So I
I mean,
mean
I did invite about half an hour ago some alien entities to join this call, but they didn't want. They didn't want to join. I mean,
you might have to
I'm doing my best.
you might have to not eat food and not sleep for 3 days and tell me what happens.
What happens without eating for 3 days, and especially without sleeping for 3 days, is that I would lose interest in life and jump off the window. So I don't think that's going to happen. But you said that you have been through these kind of experiences, and I'm assuming that you refer to the things that you wrote in your book Draft, which I have read but is not public yet.
Yes.
So that I'm not going to say anything because I don't know what you want to say, but maybe you can give a couple more hints to the listeners about what kind of alien contact
Um,
experiences are you describing?
well, so it's very weird because part of it feels like I eventually get to a stage where it kind of feels like I'm in a different timeline or I'm like outside of time. And then there's something like I'm just like in my head and like having like conversations in my head, you know? It's like a back and forth conversation and it just kind of like partially sometimes I'm trying to figure out who I'm talking to and like I question if it's really them and there's like this back and forth kind of process. But the most recent thing that happened to me was, and this has happened a few times, this whole timeline thing, kind of Elon Musk becomes a main character in it. So then I sort of question, is there this higher entity or something that's basically planting this story in my head when it comes to me trying to find Elon Musk so we can save the world from the time war or something like that, which is what it feels like. It sort of feels like they're telling me that this is my role, or in some sense it feels like that. It's not like I hear a being and they're like, this is your role to do this. It's just more like by all these confusing things that are orchestrated, it kind of feels like there's this other blob-like thing that's somehow putting this story in my head. It's like a computer program that or it's like a video game that I'm working through. So it just feels like a video game sometimes. It's like lots of different trap doors or kind of go this way, that way, and it's like just tricks and it's like time and you can't, and then it's like trying to teach you how to think and like your thoughts because like it's like trying to get you to not doubt things, because if you doubt it, it just flips the timeline. So it's just like it's trying to train your brain in a certain sense to think in a particular way to create the timeline or get to that right timeline. So that's my experience with it. It starts to feel like you're in a video game and there's a time war. There's like multiple timelines, and I'm in communication with Elon Musk, but it's not the Elon Musk in this timeline. It's like another one, and we like know each other. Um, so that's what it feels like, or sometimes, and I mean, that's one facet of it.
That's interesting. Imagine if one of these days you get to meet Elon Musk to find out that he has similar otherworldly suggestions about you.
I mean, that's something I wonder, you know. I guess it would provide some data on if there is some aspect of truth to whatever the fuck this is. You know, that's something I've always wondered. I'm like, yeah, I must, maybe we'll have to meet one day because maybe he's just as crazy as me or something, you know. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like we'll see. At this point, you know, it's not in my control. Um, I just live my life, write the book, do the things I need to do. I don't fucking know where the fuck Elon fits into the picture. Um, but it's a weird thing because yeah, he's a confusing character.
Well, these things are so subjective and very difficult to make objective, so that I see only two possibilities. One is to find ways to make them more objective, at least shared by two persons instead of only one. Or, your taxonomy thing, which is to analyze many experiences by many different people and see if there is some strong suggestion that you can extract from all that. Do you know many other people who are, I don't want to say vulnerable because it sounds negative, whatever the
The
fuck
the
the
the, the
equi-
term the term is called experiencers, and
right,
yeah,
right, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I know quite a few, and I think that should actually be an aspect of our podcast. I think some people we should interview, they should be scientists, engineers, physicists, that type, but then we throw in a few experiencers here and there too, and you know, ask them and add it to our data pool.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a specific series of questions, consistent questions we ask to get some consistent data and get like a common data set.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. By the way, I did have some experiences myself, even if I usually deny it.
Oh yeah.
And I would say that if one of these days you get me drunk enough, I would tell you about that. But it's a difficult project because I don't drink, so that you just cannot get me into that state.
One day, I guess.
One day, one day.
You'll tell us your stories.
Yeah, but but the knowledge about the future that I came out in one of those cases was
Mhm.
just wrong. I
Oh
mean, the
yeah.
knowledge was about my own death on a certain
Oh
date,
really?
which is
Oh really?
very many years ago, and
Mm.
I'm still here. And this does
Mm.
not really encourage me to take that experience too seriously.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty weird thing.
Mm.
One of these days I will tell you about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that. But speaking of the future, I think that's another thing I want to do with some of our podcast guests is ask them different predictions and thoughts about the future. Perhaps there might be some common questions, so we can also see what the collective intelligence is on specific topics as a sort of a podcast oracle system. I think that would be nice. I don't know if people do that very often, but that could be in addition to our podcast. What do you think?
Oracle sessions.
No. We ask our podcast guests some common questions. So at the end of it, let's say we've had a podcast with 50 different guests, but we ask them all the same question. So there is an oracle, we've created a human oracle or collective oracle.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
No, we don't have to come up with ideal formula to establish a media empire right now. Let's just try many things, and perhaps
Yes,
perhaps
because if I get too engineering, you're gonna tell me
yeah.
it's too complex, and you're gonna stop listening.
And that's it. I think well, we have given a bird view of some of the things that we're going to discuss in this podcast. Did we forget anything really important? I mean, I just wanted to give a general flavor of
I
what
think
these
that
conversations will be.
the other thing we described that for paid subscribers for BLAXXKY.com, they'll be able to participate in experience the podcast live and ask some of the guests potentially some questions in the chat. So that's one thing that we didn't mention yet, I don't think.
Right. And by the way, I think I just declared that these alien entities that are listening are actually full BLAXXKY subscribers and are invited to all episodes and can ask whatever questions they want. By the way, does any of you guys want to ask a question now?
Or girls or ungendered beings.
Mm-hmm.
And just send an email, drop in the comments, find your
Right.
way into this Zoom chat.
Just enter into my mind right now. And in fact, no, not yet. But maybe that will come. So
Yeah,
besides,
maybe we can also invite them into our dreams if
yes,
they want to be like, look, I'm here, but this is how I can communicate with you. I share this on your podcast. So if that's the best way of communication, that works too. Just drop in and we will report it in our episode.
right. And this ties with these things that is very often discussed in religious or mystical circles about how exactly superior intelligences would communicate with you. There is one answer that has always made a lot of sense to me. That is using your own inner voice. I mean, this constant dialogue that you have with yourself that you can shut off.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps a part of that is really subtly influenced by something else. But
Yes.
since it is by design indistinguishable from your own inner voice, then you always are left with this very ambiguous feeling of, wow, was that me making all this shit up,
Mm-hmm.
or was something else trying to communicate with me?
Exactly.
And
That's why
perhaps
everything is confusing. We don't really know what's going on.
and perhaps the difference is not even that meaningful. If
Yeah.
you think something, or if the universe as a whole is thinking something, and you catch some echo of that, but not even that. You are a part of the universe, so that
Yeah.
you're thinking what the universe is thinking, almost by definition.
Mm-hmm.
And I do look forward to discuss also these highly weird metaphysical ideas, which, as you know, is the thing that interests me more.
Yes. No, same here.
So besides paying subscribers and alien entities, I believe, they will be able to participate in these sessions in real time. But I believe your idea is that everyone else will be able to watch for free, starting
Yes.
from this video and podcast.
Yes,
Yeah, it makes
exactly.
sense.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
It makes a lot of sense, and I think it will be a good incentive for people to subscribe. We do have a few subscribers now, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We have a handful. And yeah, thank you for being founding members. We would definitely appreciate some more of you. If this inspires you, just consider
Yeah, I'll put
it.
this online, I think, tomorrow, and I will be very disappointed if by the end of the day we don't have 1,000 paying subscribers at least.
Yes, come on, let's advance science.
You shouldn't you shouldn't really disappoint me, because as I was confessing to Stella, I'm not entirely alien to experiences, and I may have some hidden powers. One never knows.
Yeah, let's
I I know
call
that
call
you
call call
and
upon your alien tribe.
I know that you do. I have called you a witch a couple of times, haven't I?
You have.
You
Yeah, I
are
don't know.
you are
Might
you
have
are
some
all in
hidden
black, of
powers.
course.
Well, I was thinking it'd be simpler for these podcasts if I wear black because then people can't really tell if I'm wearing the same thing all the time. It all just kind of blends in. So I don't have to think too much about if I wore that in the last podcast or not. That was my decision. I'm just gonna go for wearing black, but I do wear other colors, but this is just to make it so I don't have to think too much about if I already wore that shirt on that podcast. And now I've worn that shirt like 5 times. Now I could do that and
Or
you won't really know.
but you could have 5 or 10 identical copies of the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So you won't really know. I'm just going for black.
Yeah. I just pick up whatever I find on top of the pile of my shirts.
Yeah.
But my wife knows that, so she always put something she likes on top.
Uh-huh.
So
She
what?
decides for you. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm happy enough with that. So what other things do you want to say to these hundreds of thousands of people listening to this?
I don't know. I feel like we're good. We seem to be at a good time where we can wrap it up if you think so.
Yeah, let's do that.
We did a little bit of podcast scheming. We talked about a few ideas ourselves and then talked a little bit more podcasts. Now, yeah, I just hope everyone has a good day. And if not, just breathe a little and go outside, get some sunshine, and hopefully it'll be okay. Um,
For the next episode, let's try to have some more people, starting with someone in Black Sky Society,
yeah.
to kind of have a round table on these things, and then we will start with external guests.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I think we can weave in a Black Sky Society person every once in a while and mix it
Let's
up.
do that.
Yeah.
So that I'm going to stop the recording now, and
Okay.
I'd like to thank all you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.
Yes, thank you, everyone.